It's been a while. We're about 4 months from the last AEW pay-per-view, and since then, I made 0 videos about the promotion. Nonetheless, I've been watching here and there, and actually dived back in when John Moxley returned, and since then, things have heated up. Punk and MJF, Bryan Danielson in general being this cold-blooded, vicious animal, and the issues arising between Red Dragon and the Bucks. That's just at face value, of course, and up to this very point, this event has to be one of the most star-studded for AEW. Sure, Omega is gone. Sure, Miro isn't here, and sure, Cody is... I don't even know what the hell he's doing. But still, it has this intensity and potential for violence unlike no other. And looking back on the show, they delivered upon that intensity and violence. Anyways, I don't want to waste your time. Let's get into it. The first match on the buy-in was between Layla, Hirsch, and Chris Statland. 2 former friends going at it. This feud had been brewing for a while. You had Hirsch attacking Statland on several occasions and vice versa. But about this one, Hirsch initially went after the arm and did some work early on. She did do some damage, but it didn't prevent her from rebounding. There were some gnarly moments during this match that looked and certainly felt rough, and they gave off a different vibe in the sense that they wanted to knock each other's teeth off. You can see this in a bunch of moments during the matchup. Hirsch scored the victory by having to resort to deceitful tactics, and overall there's some messy moments, but I found some enjoyment in it. I didn't think it was great or anything like that, but I understood the style of the match. You know, it made sense for them to battle the way they did. But as I said, throughout the match, there were some odd moments. I am the best. Oh. So Don Callis came out, and damn do the fans hate him. Apparently he was bringing Omega, but didn't want to have him participate in such a barbaric and violent event. He then promised when Adam Cole wins the title, he'll keep it warm for Kenny Omega. Okay, that story still has a little time to develop. And as for the tease, I should know better than to expect one of the biggest AEW stars to appear on the pre-show, so that's on me. The next match was between QT Marshall and Hook. Basically, the teacher wants to put down his student, and we can all see through this. Hook once again showed signs that he's got a bright future, dropping QT with several suplexes, slowly improving, and the story of the match was simple. QT felt that experience will get him the victory, but he was unable to stop the unstoppable momentum of Hook. The match did its job in showing that Hook and kayfabe was no joke. Obviously, memes got him to a point, but I think a bunch of us see something there with him. He stands out to me, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's in the TNT title picture in a few months. The next match was a trios tag team match. The House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews against Death Triangle, Pac and Penta Oscuro, and Eric Redbeard. Honestly, Eric's reveal was a surprise. I didn't expect it at all. Then again, you probably didn't. And Buddy Matthews' debut caught me off guard as well. I heard rumors that it was coming into AEW, but I didn't expect him to team up with Malachi so soon. On paper, this match could be on the main card, but there's too much there. So this will do. About the match, it was chaotic. You had Penta and Buddy trading exchanges. Redbeard and Brody King was a big hoss battle. They mixed and matched, and it's hard to describe in a few words, but it was intense throughout the way. Once again, some wild spots that looked spontaneous, and never a moment where it wasn't exciting. Because there were so many of them, it allowed the match to flow with non-stop action. They could have continued for 10 more minutes as well, and I would have enjoyed it. The ending itself was something I predicted. I knew they were going to use the mist on Redbeard, but the way they did it, they built him up as this monster. He took the roundhouse kick, is still standing, so they had to do all of that in order to keep him down. It was the best match of the buy-in, and I expect some to complain that it was on the main show. Alright, the first match on the show is between Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. This one was rushed by Kingston in the very beginning. Jericho had made some insulting comments towards him about 2 weeks ago, saying it's a screw-up, this or that, and so basically this match is more important to Kingston than it is to Jericho. Both men fought dirty, whether it was a rag to the eye or a bite to the ear. It was a very rough battle, loads of suplexes. The suplexes were in abundance, whether they were a regular, a German, or a reverse. Jericho's fleshing out that heel character of his. Eddie showed heart and resiliency, similar to the Hirsch and Statlander match. It was rough, it was a slugfest. Kingston was dishing it out with those reverse suplexes. It was ridiculous. In the end, he managed to catch Jericho with a backhanded slap to get the biggest win of his career. It was a very good match. You can feel that heat and hatred these two had for each other. That's what helps it. Jericho ended up not being a man of his word after claiming he'll shake Eddie's hand 2 weeks ago and walking away teasing a heel turn. Or he's a heel already, I'm not sure. It was one of Chris's best matches in recent memory for sure. He played his role very well, and I feel that now with Jericho as a heel, they could eventually have the Hangman rematch. As for Eddie Kingston, they could continue building a story, and I've heard some say they want him as the world champion. We'll see where this goes. The next match is for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The Young Bucks and Red Dragon challenged Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus for the gold. Alright, it still feels weird to see Kyle O'Reilly here. It wasn't that long ago where he was in NXT. The stories expected was mostly about the friction within the Elite. This of course overshadowed the champions a bit. The frustration from each side was slowly gaining intensity and it would reach a boiling point. They were like screw it and beat the hell out of each other. The match was ridiculous and I didn't expect the title change because of the story they were telling, but it was still fun. Those double teams, the 450 splashes, all that, and it's easily another great match, but I kind of forgot about it as time went on because there was a lot of stuff on the show. And the next match was the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Winner challenges for the TNT title. My least expectation for this one is that it's good, but it was once again more than that. The Orange Cassidy spot caught me off guard. It was very exciting to see. It just came from out of nowhere. Other than that, there was a couple of dangerous moments. I thought Starks hurt himself after being tipped off a ladder. Keith Lee was out here tossing people, and these two tried topping him by tearing a ladder apart, but in the end, Wardlow eradicated them by throwing them off the stage. A Denhausen sighting. Starks took yet another painful spot, and Wardlow wins. And this match is centered around him to show that he's a huge threat, and I definitely expect him to win the TNT title. As to the match itself, it was extremely enjoyable. Nice spots, with my favorite being the Orange Cassidy one. But unfortunately, though, it seems like himself and Starks were hurt. Starks in particular took a very unnecessary spot. They should have put someone else in that position or not have the spot at all. As for Wardlow, next TNT champion by the looks of it. Shane Swerve Strickland is here. It had been teased on Twitter for a while, so some of us expected it. As for what he'll do in AEW, only time will tell, because the roster is honestly stacked. You have Andrade, you have Sammy Guevara, you have Darby. All of these guys near the TNT title picture. So we'll see what they do with Swerve. The next match was for the TBS Championship. Ty Conti challenged Jade Cargill for that title. Cargill's entrance made her look like a final boss. She's treating herself like she's a main eventer, but the match itself was very predictable. I think we all had an idea how it would end, but we all didn't expect the start though. The match itself wasn't that interesting to me, although Jade is slowly getting better. Regardless, even if she improves by a little bit, she's basically going to be a world champion by then. It's certainly the weakest match on the pay-per-view for me. It wasn't that dramatic. There was some decent moments here and there, but I just didn't really like it that much. Following this, MJF faced CM Punk in a dot collar match. MJF trolled everyone, whereas Punk took it back with the ROH entrance, with the shorts, the jacket itself, and he is clearly enjoying himself. You can see it. I've heard some vouch for this match to main event because it had the most intensity out of any match by far. With that said, the blood was already prevalent from Punk's face early on, and MJF was out here cussing. The best moment of the match so far for me was the moment where MJF was yanked off the second rope. The pace was slow, but every move, every action felt devastating. MJF obviously drew blood eventually, and Punk's knee was bent. However, Maxwell figured it out and felt it was time for Wardlow. But Wardlow didn't have time for him and instead handed the diamond ring to CM Punk, who capitalized, leading to the victory. And there's the feud. For sure, the most intense and violent match of the night. I don't think there's any topping this. And I thought there was a chance that MJF would have lost because Punk was more violent. But that wasn't the case here. They wanted to advance the Wardlow story instead. And I think we all expected that. But as I said, I thought there was a possibility of Punk beating him to a bloody heap to the point where he was knocked out and all that. But it wasn't. And for sure, we're going to get MJF and Wardlow real soon. As for CM Punk, well, I think there's a possibility he could go into that title picture. But we'll see. The next match is for the AEW Women's Championship. Thunder Rosa challenged Dr. Britt Baker for the gold. So for this one, a new title debuted. And since that happened, I thought there was a new champion. Basically, ever since these two faced off last year, Baker, the loser, reached heights like never before in her career. She sees it as a win. She's like, oh, I lost this match, and I'm champion, yada, yada, yada. Let's talk about the match quickly. Even though there was aggression from the champion, this was probably the most technical match up to this point. They're trading holds, doing this and that. And we didn't see much of that in the previous matches. That lasted for a bit before Britt took control. The interferences were once again here, which is about as likely as Tony Schiavone getting interrupted. But nonetheless, Thunder Rosa was very resilient. She took a stomp on the title. Everything but Rebel and Hater were far too much here, and Britt Baker surprisingly won. Britt's matches has this formula where Entourage interferes, and you know how it ends. And they did the same here, and I saw some compare this to Triple H at WrestleMania 19. Like, damn. I even saw somebody compare it to Triple H's title run in 2003 because the matches weren't that interesting. I thought it was disappointing. The match itself wasn't that enjoyable, nor was the result itself, which was probably the worst of the night. But Tony Schiavone revealed later on that Thunder Rosa is going to get a chance to challenge for the title if she beats Layla Hirsch. And that match, the title match, will happen in her hometown. So we'll see. But as for Britt Baker, her title reign has gone on for far too long. I just don't give a damn about it, honestly. Time to give it to somebody else. The next match was between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. This is probably the match I was most hyped for on the show. To describe it in 2 words, I'd say it was technical violence. The way they depicted the match in the build, it was that. They beat the hell out of each other, and when they said they will bleed together, they weren't lying. The intensity was brought tenfold, and you can feel that competitive nature of the two men. The expectations I had were met. They weren't exceeded or anything like that, but it was a match that I expected. So that's cool. Both men were brutal and aggressive with stomps, chokes, strikes. The finish, though, was something. It caught me off guard, I didn't expect it to end the way it did. But basically, Moxley outsmarted Bryan, and he lost it. Following this, they brawled. More intense than earlier, and then William Regal, like a disappointed father, comes in and takes control of the situation, leading to these two forming the partnership. Okay, Regal is in AEW, and he's a huge gift for the company in the sense that he's got a creative mind and eye for talent. Also, I'm only one of 5 people that'd rather see these two tear each other apart. Then again, it's going to be cool seeing them bring blood and brutality to the tag team division. Following this wild affair, the AHFO, Matt Hardy, Andrade, and Isaiah Cassidy faced Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin. This was the most surprising match for me. I wondered why the other trios match wasn't on the main show, but they shut me up in a big way. I don't know if it was the previous matches, but these guys were on something. Like, they were so desperate to top it in different ways. They weren't expecting their match to be the best match on the show, but it was certainly one of the most wild. Sting even dived through some tables. Like, it was some insane stuff. The babyfaces won it after Darby Coffin dropped Matt's shoulder, well, kind of, which was bizarre. And I expect the ending to lead to Jeff Hardy later this week. Overall, it was a car crash. 3 of the 6 men had a superb match on Friday. Now they're out there dropping each other through tables, which was something. And the main event, Hangman Adam Page defends the AEW World Championship against Adam Cole. Out of all the big matches, this didn't have the most interesting build. It feels like more of a stopgap for Hangman rather than a tough challenger. But I expected a good match, and that's what we got. I didn't think the result was out of question before the match, but that will slowly change. It took a while for me to pick up, but when it did, I thought it was cool. We got TakeOver-esque style Adam Cole, type of matches where there's a bunch of kickouts, drama, all that. And because of that, there were several moments where I thought a title change was possible. Red Dragon, the Dark Order came out. Did I think some of the kickouts were too much? Yeah, sometimes it's unnecessary. But despite this, I liked the match. Hangman finally got his comeuppance from Dynamite to retain, although the fans weren't happy about it. They booed him because it felt out of character, but it's still weird to hear that. Even then, Hangman shook his hand afterwards, showing his true colors. Good match. Was it the best of the night? Not for me, but it certainly was a great way to end the show. As for his next challenger, well, we'll see. I'm not sure who they got for him at the moment. They could have CM Punk, they could have this guy, but we'll see. Alright, that's AEW Revolution. Very fun show. I loved it. Minus 2 matches. Everything was good to great. Match of the night is definitely MJF and CM Punk. It had that brutality. Gave off that finale vibe. That's what it was. It also advanced the story of Wardlow, so that's cool to see. They've been teasing this for a while, and he finally turned on him. So that's awesome. Other than that, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley was probably the second best match on the show. It delivered in every way as I expected it to. And third, this might be a hot take, I'm going to go with Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. As I said, great show. Is it the best AEW show ever? No, I don't think so. I feel like All Out is going to be hard to top. I think it's going to be hard to top because of the effect that it had on the company as a whole. So yeah. Alright, what did you guys think of AEW Revolution? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the GTS on the like button and perhaps the super kick on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.